Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live session discussing digital transformation in the age of generative AI. I'm just going to wait a few seconds longer just for those who want to join, get a chance to join, and then we will start the presentation in a few seconds. All right, so let's start. Great. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Gen AI in the context of digital transformation. And before we start, let me just talk a bit about myself. So my name is Vahid. I'm principal for engineering at Elsewhen, and I've been a software engineer for almost 20 years, which most of that time I applied engineering knowledge across different industries. Out of that 20 years, 9 years of it I was in the current company I work at, Elsewhen. Elsewhen is a digital product consultancy and is based in London. It has been active for the last 10 years, and it offers end-to-end digital product consultancy that starts from strategy and discovery and research all the way to production and scaling. So what Elsewhen does is basically bring a cross-functional design and engineering-driven approach to a work across strategy, design, and technology. We're also growing fast. At the moment, we are about 100 people, but we are one of the fastest growing companies in Europe, according to Financial Times. We've had many clients from startups to enterprise, but mostly recently we work majorly with enterprise companies such as WPP, Spotify, Google, etc. We're also a Google partner. So before I start, let's talk a bit about LLMs. I just want to ask a few questions to understand the group better. I want to know how many people have heard of LLMs, large language models. So you can comment straight away, and of course I have to let you know as well, if you have any questions across the presentation, just feel free to type it in. We will review them at the end in the QA section, and I will get a chance to answer to them. I also want to know from those who know what LLMs are, how many of them have explored or had some sort of experience with it. And at the end, I want to know from those who have experience with LLMs, how many of them actually shipped something, a product or an app. Nice. So what we want to cover today, we want to understand what a strategic approach to LLMs looks like inside organization. We will bring a Gen AI to life with one of the Elsewhen's clients' case studies. And then through Q&A, we get you to think about how Gen AI could support one of your business challenges using Elsewhen's methodology. So when we talk about utilizing LLMs, there are two approaches based on my own observation. One of them is strategic and the other one is tactical. On the early days of LLMs, which is just a few months ago, I would say, a lot of the companies described utilizing as allowing the employees to use ChatGPT, or in a bit more advanced cases, they would use SaaS products where they would upload the company's documents and they would use a chatbot to ask questions about those documents. Like example of that, you can see in Notion, where you can now ask questions about the documentations that you have in Notion. But I have to say that using and utilizing LLMs inside organizations goes beyond the day-to-day tasks and tactical approach. So it involves integrating the technology into the core business strategy to create long-term value. It's not just integrated agent or co-pilot. It can empower existing services and systems. The idea is that these models outclass human in their ability to reason with your organization data and systems. Beside that, you get full control over security, running costs, and you can be technology agnostic, and you can integrate it to your current stack and embed it in your existing products. Obviously, out of the box, that's not possible. LLMs have some limitations. One of them is that the knowledge that LLM is trained on is public. It would be a huge potential value if the Gen AI tool is powered by internal and precise corporate information, which gets me to my next point. Corporate environments often require decision based on the latest internal data, such as sales figures or market research. And unlike using LLM alone, which might only draw pre-existing training data, in a solution like RAG, the corporate data will be provided to the LLM to make decision. This means that when you ask a question from LLM, RAG retrieves the latest data relevant to your query to generate a response, ensuring that the information is both current and specific to your company's context. Here you can see a diagram of what RAG looks like. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generative. So what it does is basically there's a step that comes in between, which is called a smart retriever. And what it does is to take your question and look for relevant information using semantic search through all your corporate data, and then provide only the relevant context to the LLM, followed by your initial question, and get relevant answer. In business term, RAG helps AI system not just to rely on their internal knowledge, but also look up relevant external information in real time even. This makes it, this enables the AI to answer more detailed, precise, and useful, much like getting expert advice in the middle of a task. It can connect to internet, it can check grounding, it can look at your analytics and your data, and provide all of those information to make a comprehensive context for the LLM to decide on. This means that we can have a chain of LLM-driven business reasoning by breaking down the whole company's data into specific, specialized silos of knowledge, and that the LLM can reason with. Something like that. So, and I think that you can see how the whole business flow can be broken down into specialized large language models that they're good in one task and taking instructions, and they're connected to certain knowledge of your company, and they provide the output as an input to another LLM in order to create a chain of reasoning. So with modern RAG, there's sort of agent base. It's really about creating these subsystems to do a specific task well. And these LLM subsystems together can perform a work beyond human reasoning capabilities. And these LLMs can be small and specialized, as I mentioned. But what matters the most is to be replaceable. That's the whole point of model agnosticness come from. You should be able to basically, at any point, remove one large language model and put another one, and your system should be still working. I can see a lot of companies just go for, oh, we want to use GPT model, or we want to use Gemini Pro model, or this or that. So there is a lot of hype or politics or even strategic partnership involved when choosing the model. But in very advanced approach, it's all about having a specialized task for a specialized large language model. As I said, your strategy should be model agnostic. Why is that? Let's have a look. This is a table of the large language models that in one of the white papers that we published a few months ago, and it's already out of date. You can see that in here, Gemini has a context window of 10,000 tokens, which in reality at the moment is 2 million. So the industry is moving really, really, really fast. The lifespan of LLMs on the shelf, it's very short. I was reading somewhere that the lifespan of the LLM is half of the data set that it was trained on. So you have to expect at any point during build, development, or even post-production, you may have to remove these LLMs and replace it with another one. And it's not just because of the technology advancement, it's because of your organization as well. Because as an organization, your company grows. You make business decisions, you make strategic decisions. The nature of the data that you had will evolve and change as your company evolves. That means that the large language model embedded in your system that used to do its job may not be suitable for the job anymore. So the whole model agnostic approach makes sure that at any point you can plug and unplug these models and adjust yourself with the pace of your company change and growth. So let's focus on another thing. Obviously, we can talk endlessly about exploring and exploration with LLMs within an organization. I'm sure a lot of companies are doing that, but it all matters when you ship something in production and actually start adding value and impact. But how does that impact look like? From our point of view, the business impact of Gen AI can be in three categories: bringing productivity, cost saving, or generating new revenue streams. So in this session, we're going to focus in these two. So in order to make a difference, you should have a ship it culture or approach. That means that you have to have ability to take risk, big courage, and build something. In order to have that, you need to have some attributes within your organizations, which pretty much depends on how your organization work to identify unproductive processes, how your organization identify which process requires Gen AI in order to be improved. And also, how do you encourage your team to experiment with the Gen AI and LLMs and even the ideas? And at the end, like any other software company or organization, it's all about how can you put that idea into a production, into a system that is reliable and predictable and can work. This leads us to the case study that I want to discuss with you. It's one of the projects that we had with one of our clients, which it's building enterprise Gen AI and LLM strategy. So to give you a bit of a context, this is in the marketing sector. And in digital marketing, when a campaign is designed by a marketeer, there are many variables and attributes included, especially around the target audience, like their demographic, the financial capabilities, the geographic location, their interest, their live events, and more. So we call these segments. So when a marketeer plan a campaign, let's say a streaming on TV, they target the audience by applying segmentation. That's why when you see an ad on your streaming service, it might be different than the ad that, let's say, your neighbor sees for the same show. So these segments are stored in databases that are can be basically considered as corporate data. So they're not public information. So therefore, the LLM doesn't know about them. But before we talk about LLM, let's talk about what the problem was. The problem was when marketeers would do the planning, they didn't know about all of these segments. They couldn't be able to, let's say they had thousands and thousands of segments. They couldn't just by searching and selecting make a really optimum decision about who to have to target. And they also would have missed opportunity, but not selecting the right segment for the campaigns. So Gen AI is coming to help here by recommending the relevant audience segments based on the campaign brief. So the future iterations could include more insights such as distribution, segment at the postcode level, and bypassing even more manual input field and make it all automated. So what happens is that we now can ask Gen AI that based on the campaign brief, which one of these segments that we have in our possession are the best suited for this campaign. The UI would look something like this. You can see a planner deciding to plan a campaign. They have a few segments from the audience on the left-hand side. So in the normal situation and scenario, they would just search for them. They would decide which one they have to pick, and they would drag and drop on the right-hand side. Obviously, they could have missed some of the segments. They could have choose a segment wrong, and obviously they would take them quite a good few minutes of time in order to do that. So by using LLMs, we ask the user to provide us with a brief of the campaign. What is the campaign all about? What is the product they want to sell? What is the target audience they wish they could have? What is the area they're trying to target? So we get all of these, all the campaign objectives and strategy. And then we ask LLM to look through the available segments in our database and pick the right one, well, a selection of right ones, and also tell us what that entail and what was the reason behind it in order to suggest those segments. You can see, for example, here that the AI suggested a segment, let's say some urban successful people for the health ring that you can put on your finger. So it shows that these type of audience might be the best suited for this campaign, for this product. You can see that reasoning in the gray box that why the LLM thought this is a good good excuse to suggest this segment for this campaign. With that, the marketeer can speed up the process. It can mix and match between the ones that he thinks are the good audience and the one that the Gen AI have suggested in order to build that creativity to target the right audience. So to be honest, at no point Gen AI provides new knowledge here. It provides the existing knowledge, and it's up to the user to generate that new knowledge based on what the LLM has given to him. So this is basically what we call co-piloting, when the Gen AI, it's not fully automated, but in fact is just right there to give you the right information for you to make the optimum decision. In conclusion, what we have to say is that LLM combined with in-house data and an innovative UI are powerful tools for streamlining, augmenting, and replacing manual business processes. However, it will be for those brave enough to be Gen AI and LLM early adopters wanting to unlock business productivity that will benefit the most from it. So you can get further with that and read our white paper, Digital Transformation in the Era of Generative AI. A lot of the concepts that I discussed have been in detail described in this white paper, and you can scan the QR code to download it straight away. So I'm happy for any question and answer. Let's read. Using LLM outputs live in product as opposed to in search only, which is where we're at the minute, especially with regards to processing weight. If I'm understanding right, so to be honest, what RAG does is that it uses the LLM output live in production, but is in the context of the query and in the context of the knowledge that we provided to it. It's kind of very limited, make it very limited to what LLM can say and generate. Let's go to the next question. I don't think there's any more question, which is great. Well, thank you everyone for joining. There is a QR code for my LinkedIn. If you want to get in touch and ask your questions, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. And it was great to have you everyone here in this session. Hopefully you find it useful.